Now, you didn't become a music teacher, but so what was the biggest mistake you've done then?
The biggest mistake. I better stand up for this one. Oh, this thing.
Sorry.
That's all right. I feel like Ming the Merciless is going to come out of the walls now. Thank you, Clown. Biggest mistake I did was allow myself to give in to my addictive personality, basically. A lot of my problems have stemmed from chemicals and whatnot. You know, I mean, when I was growing up, it was always easier to kind of follow the pack and get involved with, you know, drugs, alcohol, stuff like that. And it naturally limited me, you know. I let the drugs go when I was about 15 or 16. But, you know, kind of got caught up in alcohol as well. It became another one of those addictions. And I was lucky enough that my dream was really an anchor for me. You know, I would always go kind of out on the limb, but I would always kind of have that to pull me back. You can make the argument that if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have so much, I don't want to call it wisdom, but, you know, so much experience and be able to describe it as eloquently as I've kind of taught myself to do. But at the same time, you know, it's relative, you know. I mean, I would never come out and romanticize the things that I did like a lot of other musicians will, you know. I went through them, and in a way I'm glad I did, because now I know what I want to be, who I want to be, you know. Because I went through them, I know never to go back. Because I went through them, I'm a better person, hopefully, a better father, a better husband. But there's a part of me that wonders if I should have gone through it in the first place. You know, I mean, an intelligent person, they look at both options, you know, and sometimes capricious youth, you kind of get caught up in the romance of it, and it's hard, and it's especially once it really gets you. All I can say is that I'm not proud of it, but I've learned from the mistakes that I made, and I'm not an expert, but I do my best to help other people with it, and I do my best to understand how they are and be patient. You know, I have a lot of friends who struggle with it, and rather than judge them or cast aspersions on their choices or whatnot, I just try to be the best friend I can. You know, you gotta make your own mistakes, but you have to let your friends make their own mistakes as well. All you can do is just be a friend, and be family, and just be there for them. Anybody else? Yes.
If you really love being yourself, why do you wear a mask and kind of use that voice on your songs?
Well, you're assuming that I felt like this when I was 25. You know, I mean, the beautiful thing about Slipknot is that I've been able to let go of so much baggage, you know, and the mask was a perfect foil to that. It was a way to visualize everything that I was feeling in my heart and feeling in my gut, and just all that pain that I was holding on to that I didn't know how to work out when I was younger. I didn't have the skills for it, you know, I didn't have the experience for it. But by putting that mask on, that was a physical manifestation to me, not only of the art, but of everything that I had to go through, you know. I didn't have the worst childhood, but I didn't have the best either, you know. And when you grow up like that, you have certain limitations that almost invariably get stuck inside you. And I had them without even knowing that I had them. And Slipknot was a way for me to figure it out and to work it out. You know, I was able to just tear those walls down and feel it. It wasn't great sometimes. It hurt a lot. But that mask meant something. That's why the mask for me has always changed with every album, because with every album I'm different. With every album I'm a different person. With every album I'm a better person, hopefully. So yeah, I mean, it went hand in hand. You know, it wasn't that I was ashamed of this. It was that, to me, I needed to let that person out. I needed to let that mask out and bear it all. If you're not willing to bear it all, then you have nothing to say. So, no worries. Anybody else? Yeah.
I have a question about I think probably the overall message of doing what you're good at as opposed to what you love, or hopefully finding something in the middle ground. It's a quick backstory. I actually left the band for school and was good at it and loved my stuff with it, but did the whole Warped Tour thing. And the band I left is still going at it. And they're awesome too, but I think their problem is they're great at their music, that are really attached to the scene that they come out of.
Okay.
South Bay, LA, and it's like the very post-punk.
Yeah.
And Pennywise, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're stuck in trying to get something to work that isn't really around anymore, but they love it to death and seem happy with it. But I think want to get to a stage where you guys at, especially since like you're one of the biggest idols for it. So I'm wondering what your take is on doing what you love, specifically what you're good at in music, but digging a scene that's dead and trying to find a balance between doing something you're good at in music but not being a sellout. So being a success like you guys have been.
That's a good question. That's a good question. It all comes down to limitations, you know. You either have the confidence to go past that scene, or you don't. You know, I mean, there's one thing to enjoy what you're doing, obviously, and it sounds like they enjoy what they're doing. But when it comes to success and wanting to get to a point like Slipknot has, you have to open yourself up to evolution. You have to open yourself up to change, basically. You have to allow yourself to branch out past those musical walls, you know? And a scene is nothing more than a wall with better clothing. That's all a scene is at the end of the day. The wonderful thing about Slipknot was that we never limited ourselves. We did exactly what we wanted to do when we wanted to do it. The first album, very frenetic, very all over the place, really got pigeonholed because of the scene that we were in at the time. And it never really left, even though we kind of went out of our way to shuck that nu metal side or whatever. Everyone expected us to follow it up with an album full of singles, and we gave them Iowa, the sickest fucking album to come out in 20 years, you know, which to me was the biggest fuck you to anything, you know. There are songs on that album I still can't listen to. Like, I mean, it's fucking heavy duty. Like, it's real. That album has hair. And then, you know, and then there was a kind of a weird period for Slipknot where we had kind of come to the ledge. We'd come to that plateau, you know. We either build a bridge or we drown doing what we're doing. And that's when we did Volume 3. And pretty much every barrier that everyone else had put up for us got kicked the fuck down or set on fire, because we were a band that would not be limited by scenes, by fads, by trends, by, you know, people trying to sell fucking hamburgers, you know. To us, we were in it for the long haul. And by making an album like Volume 3, we were able to get to All Hope Is Gone and really kind of hone everything that we had been trying to do, you know. So what I would say for that band is that, do you love music or do you love the scene? You know, there's a reason that the Strokes only got so far. They're more in love with their skinny jeans and white belts. Hey, fuck, call it what it is. I don't give a fuck. They're more in love with their fashion than they are with their music. And you can, they may love doing music, but they don't love it enough that they're willing to go all the way. You know what I'm saying? It's like, with Slipknot, we had no expectations for this. We were completely caught off guard by this, We didn't expect to be Slipknot. We were 9 idiots from fucking Iowa. We were a metal band wearing coveralls and masks. There's no fucking way we should have made it. But we did. We did because we didn't give a shit. We didn't give a fuck. At the end of the day, we didn't give a fuck. And we were not limited by the things around us. And I think that might be one of the problems that your friend's band or your band has, is that if you're too in love with the scene, you'll never get past your own backyard. Straight up. You will never get as far as your imagination will allow you. And until then, you're basically on one of those invisible leashes, You can't leave your borders and you can't go in the house because you'll still get shocked anyway. If you want to achieve greatness, you have to be willing to risk everything. And that's why this band is where it's at. And until that band is ready to do that, they will still be a scene band. I hope that answered your question. There you go. Yes?
What's your least favorite song that you've ever written and why?
My least favorite song? Fuck, that's a good question. Well, let's just say it's a song that no one's heard me release professionally. It's an older tune. It's a song. Actually, it's a fucking. Oh my God. Scratch that. I don't know if you've noticed, I have a very big propensity for writing like slower tunes. And when I was first learning to play guitar, I wrote this song. Shit. No, I'm not singing it. It was called, please don't laugh. It's a fucking sappy. It was called When Heaven Feeds the Fire. It was the worst fucking piece of shit. It was so bad. But I was just really stoked because, I taught myself how to play guitar just so I could write songs. And I was just like, oh, you got to hear this. And I played it for my friends, just acoustic. And I'd have my eyes closed and, ooh, just so very into it in my grandmother's basement. And I'd open my eyes and my friends, I swear to God, they'd just be like, that suck face, where like you play something, oh, you got to fucking hear this. And you get done and you look over and your friends are just. So, yeah, that would probably, and I'm kind of glad I got that out of the way early on, and it was it was huge. I had like orchestras and shit in my head when I was playing. This is going to be amazing. Whew, terrible. So that's, When Heaven Feeds the Fire. Look for it on the next album. Anybody? Yes, you. Which song means the most? I guess just off the top of my head, the song that I'm most proud of is Snuff. Just because that was the first full song I brought into Slipknot. Like over the years, I'd written the lyrics. I contributed a couple of riffs here and there, but I knew that I was nowhere near technical enough to write things to keep up with those guys. And so I really I stayed out of the music way, and over the years I'd gotten a little more confidence, a little more to kind of offer riffs and stuff like that. But Snuff was the first song that I wrote top to bottom that I thought had the essence of a Slipknot song, that melancholy, that chop me in half and look, that's the only way to really feel that. So that was the first time that I brought something in that was fully formed, and God bless them, they embraced it the way they did. And when I first heard it back with everyone on it, I was a fucking pile of blubbering jelly. I was crying. I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like I couldn't handle it. Like, I mean, it was so big for me. It was honestly the first time I really felt a full member. And I know that's very strange to hear, but I mean, you got to understand, this was a band that I joined after they were already, you know, kind of together. You know, I didn't have that memory of, you know, starting the band with them. You know, I joined later, and you know, after we, you know, got signed and we went out on the road, you know, you start to, you know, get that camaraderie. But it wasn't until I brought that song in and I saw what that band did with it that I was blown away. And it's still really heavy for me to sing live. It's one of those songs that when I play it, you know, just even just acoustic or with the full band, I mean, it rips me up. And I'm glad I did it with Slipknot, because it showed such a great side to that band. There's such a dynamic to that band that I think it was perfect for it.